Right, lamb Dopiaza. Right, you'll see there's a significant amount of onion on here, and that is because Dopiaza is, I believe, a Hindi word, and it means double onion. And to that effect, it's because you do use a lot of onion in the recipe. You also use a fairly heroic amount of garlic, tomatoes, a reasonable amount of ginger. It's about one ice cube worth of ground fresh ginger. I put a couple of potatoes in. They're not absolutely necessary, but my brother gets withdrawal symptoms if he doesn't get a potato at least once a day. What I've got here, rather than buy cubed up lamb, this is not a terribly cheap joint, but it's fairly cheap for what it is. It's 1.176 kilograms, just over about 2.33 pounds of lamb, and it's a bone-in top end of a leg of lamb, so it's a half leg of lamb joint, and it's further made wonderful by the fact that it's Welsh lamb, which is gorgeous and sweet and delicious. So what I do is, first of all, before I do anything else, if I get the butcher to give me cubed leg of lamb, it will cost an arm and a leg, and it will come in at substantially more than £7 a kilogram, and that's just for the grace of the butcher putting the knife through it. So I do it myself. So I've got the onions chopped up. I've got a tomato as well, and some a small amount of tomato paste, some of my homemade curry powder, and everything else I've discussed with you. So the very first thing I need to do is turn that into that. So what I've done is I've cut the lamb up into fairly large chunks, because I like it nice and big and peasanty chunks, and the bone will go into the dish itself to help flavour it, as will another little cove. I've got a beef stock cube or stock gel pot there, which will just augment the flavour. Right, you can use lamb, you can use beef, you can use mutton, and you can use venison for this dish. So you need a red meat for this. Alright, you can use wild boar meat because that is kind of red meat, even though it is pork. So here we go. The very first thing I want to do is I want to get these onions, which I have sliced this way. So one of the onions, you'll notice, I have sliced in half moon slices, just like that, and the other one I've just cut up roughly because that's going into the food processor to be ground down to a paste in my usual fashion when making curries. So I'm going to get this fried off, and then I'm going to get my curry paste made, and then I'll get back to you. Alright, that sizzling noise you can hear is my the sliced half moon onions. They're just frying up. I want to get those so they're nice and soft and brown, and I'm going to add 1, 2, 3 heaps of my freshly made curry powder, and that smells amazing and wonderful, like my fresh curry powder always does. So much better than buying tied old standard brand curry powders. It just tastes amazing. So it's not terribly spicy, this. It's more on the sweet side, as the onion would suggest. A Dopiaza is rather sweet, so it doesn't make a great emphasis on the heavier spices or chili. What I tend to do for myself, I make this kind of mild, and then if I want it any hotter on my plate, I'll always add some nice chili sauce, one of my favourite hot pepper sauces, to it. So there we go. I'm just going to get this ground up now. Alright, I've ground that up. Into that went the tomatoes, the tomato paste. You saw the curry powder go into it, and a glug of oil just to get it all lubricated and going. So I'm just waiting now for the half moon sliced onions to brown off nicely, and I'm doing that fairly slowly. I'm not in a great hurry with that, so I'll get back to you with a new shot. Alright, moving on. What we got, I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons of oil, enough to coat the bottom of my pan, and that will come up to heat rather quick because that's rather hot. One thing I forgot to mention was panch paran. You're going to need about half a teaspoon of panch paran, and that goes straight into your hot fat, and as soon as it starts to pop, we transfer our curry paste into it. Don't forget that's got the tomatoes, tomato puree, onions, garlic, ginger and oil in it. And it's the large amount of onions that give this dish its sweetness. So let's get Spoonzilla in. Come steal the limelight. And you'll see over here I've got my onions just sizzling away over a medium heat until they're soft and brown. Right, what we do now is we keep our eye on that. We stir and fry and stir and fry until it turns a couple of shades darker, and you'll see it starts to smell this. You'll see it get a couple of shades darker, and it will begin to give off a rather characteristic sweet smell, and that's as the onions start and garlic and the ginger start to caramelize and issue that wonderful flavour, that sumptuous flavour into the sauce. Very important part of this. I believe the process was called bunje or buna, and there are some curries called buna, and it's really where the sauce is fried down till it thickens and clags onto the meat or the vegetables in the sauce. So that's a nice another curry for another day, boys and girls. But right now we're going to get this super Dopiaza going. I'll start to fry that down, then I'll get back to you. Okay, it's getting to that point now where the oil's starting to separate and it's turned a slight shade darker and it's starting to catch to the bottom of the pan. I'm now going to put in a shot glass of water. I've discussed this before in my making curries. What that helps to do is to give you what I call the second day taste on your curry. What it does, it slightly deglazes the pan, and then what you do then is you just fry again to the point where it starts to separate again. It goes darker and separates, and it doesn't take very long for that shot glass of water to burn off. It's at this stage, when it starts to separate again, that I put in my lamb or my meat. That all goes in, I'm also putting in the bone because that's all good stuff. And I'm going to stir that so that all those lovely, wonderful spices and flavours get onto the meat. And all the while this heat is on fairly high all the way through, and it's why you have to attend it so it doesn't burn. You have to keep stirring and frying it. There is no shortcut to making a good curry, my little gastronauts and friends out there. There is no shortcut. I'm just going to get a couple of turns on that, but I don't want it to burn. So just before it gets to the stage where it wants to burn, I'm going to put in my liquid. In this case, what I've done, waste not, want not, I've got all that lovely spice. I've put my about half a litre of water into that, and then I'm now going to add that to the pot. And we bring that to the boil and simmer it for around about 30 minutes before we go to the next stage. So there you are, boys and girls. We bring that to the up to boil, and then I turn it down to a fairly low simmer for about 40 minutes, 30-40 minutes. Alright, one thing I neglected to tell you was at this stage, what I like to do is I split the potatoes lengthways and just drop them in. Splitting them lengthways makes the cooking a reasonable time, and I also like the shape and the way it looks in the finished curry. So that goes in. And the potatoes are entirely optional, my dear gastronauts. There we go. So I'm now going to cover that and simmer that for around about 30 to 40 minutes. Meanwhile, my onions, you want to get them to this stage and then just take them off the heat and keep them to one side. Alright, fair few minutes later, 40 minutes roundabout, and that's cooked all the way through and lovely. Into that now goes my onions. This is where we get the double onion from, Dopiaza. I'm probably murdering that language, but there you go. I don't speak Hindi. And then stir that in, so that's an extra nice layer of sweetness in there. At this stage you can put in some sort of thickening. I kind of like it thin myself, but my brother kind of likes it thick, so what I'm going to do is thicken it up with some flour and water paste. Okay, I prefer to use gram flour or lentil flour for this purpose. I'm actually using gram flour at the moment, but whatever flour you choose, you need a couple of tablespoons, and just mix it nice and smooth with enough water till you get kind of dropping consistency, like that, more like a pancake batter, I suppose. And then what we do is we drop that straight into the stew, give it a good old stir, and allow that to thicken up. And you may notice on the side here, what I have is some chopped up onion, which is a fabulous garnish for this dish. Just chopped up raw onion or spring onion, really nice garnish for this superb dish. Alright, so that's the Dopiaza. I'm going to show you that served up now with some rice. I'll just stir that, let that come back up to the boil again, and that'll be ready to serve. So there you have it. That's the that's a lamb Dopiaza, and I've served that on a bed of brown rice. And just for garnish, I like to drop on some extra raw white onion. Other options would include some spring onions or some chopped fresh coriander leaf, which is also rather nice. So there we go. Enjoy.
If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you would like to follow my channel, please subscribe and be sure to click the bell icon to receive notification of all my upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.